G'day Eagles fans, welcome back to True Eagle for a review, relatively late review because we don't usually play on a Saturday, of our 29-point loss to the Collingwood Football Club at Marvel Stadium. I had a different perspective on this game. It was our first game in Melbourne since I moved here and couldn't get to the actual game because it was my good friend Druzy's birthday, so I watched it at the pub. What's that sort of like biblical painting of the... Is it the disciples? I don't know. I'm a very ignorant man. But you know that painting where there's a big, long, wide table? The Last Supper. That's what it is. And I'll get it up if you're not aware of it. That's what the table sort of looked like as we were watching this game of footy. But you just picture me in the middle. Everyone's absorbed in conversation. And I'm just watching the football like this and screaming obnoxiously loud whenever West Coast did anything well. I was up and about when we were winning 7-1. Lots of pints flowing. There was like 2 or 3 other Eagles fans in this pub. During the quarter breaks, I'd sort of go up to 1 or 2 of them and be like, "Geez, this is going all right, eh?" And all in all, maybe it was because I had a million pints as I watched this game, but it was a really fun game to watch, probably because we had minimal expectation, or at least I certainly did. Coming off the back of the Carlton game where I had a bit of a dummy spit in my review, which is somewhat rare. Certainly this season, I haven't had too many really bad reactions to our games. So went into this sort of embracing the possibility we might get slaughtered in this game, but... Tell you what, it was a fun game to watch. The Eagles came to play. I thought they did us proud. But I don't think anyone would have given us a chance of being in front at half-time, being 4 points down at three-quarter time. If anything, the 29-point margin doesn't do us justice for the way we played in this game, considering just how undermanned, unprepared this team is for AFL. Distantly the youngest team in the competition over the last 5 weeks, so certainly in this round. The average games experience for us in this round was 73, and I think the next lowest is around the mid-80s. So for them to put in this performance again, this is like a 10-week, maybe more period. I want to go back to maybe the Hawthorn game, where we've been, at least consistently playing a brand. That was on show in this game, and to do it against the absolute benchmark of the competition for as long as we did, we spent 40 minutes of this game in front. We let it slip against Carlton, don't get me wrong, but it really was for only a quarter and a half, and that quarter and a half was really bad, hence my frustration. But overall, that Carlton quarter and a half was the only blemish really for a long period of time now, and it's just crazy to think that we won one game this year. And I covered this in a video I did last week discussing whether we've improved, but to sit 1 win and 14 losses now, maybe 15, and in some ways have actually made quite a bit of progress toward becoming the team that we hope we will eventually become. It's a weird situation to be in. And, for the most part, with a few exceptions over the last couple of months, 3 months maybe, found this trend now, like when teams are playing us, they're expecting a huge win. And when they don't get that huge win, or at least maybe we're just more difficult than they anticipate, every opponent we've played in this time frame has walked away from the game thinking, shit, we were terrible today. But there's a clear pattern, and the common denominator is us and the way we pressure the opposition, getting forward half turnovers, making it really hard for them. Well, we don't look like superstars ourselves, but there is a continued trend here. We're becoming annoying to play against, and I am very, very pleased and satisfied with the way we're playing, even if it's not resulting in wins. I think McQualter has made genuine progress with this group. I was very skeptical we would see too much of a brand in his first season, considering, look at the list that he's been given. And then you take out Jake Waterman, Jeremy McGovern, Elliot Yeo, Oscar Allen and Liam Duggan, our co-captains, haven't had good years. We are so ill-equipped to be tough and competitive, and that's what we are. We are far from the finished product, don't get me wrong. But we could have won this game. And if there's any game that should give us belief, it was this one against Collingwood, because we were not a crazy chance of actually pinching that game. As it happened, obviously Collingwood, they are too good. They are probably too good for us to have realistically gotten. But I still think there's a lot of belief to be taken out of that. And you now look at, this season, some of our best performances this year have been against the top 4. That Collingwood one was an outstanding performance by our standards. We nearly got Brisbane at the Gabba somehow, if you want to say nearly. I mean, 3 quarters, we probably edged them. Against Geelong, I can't remember if we actually hit the front. I think we did, but we were also 7 points down in the last quarter. Those are the 3 best teams in the competition right now. And then there's the Hawthorn and Adelaide games, who are probably, around that top 6 mark. Certainly Adelaide are third on the ladder. For half, we were as good as they were. Like, they were clearly a much better team than us. But in that game, until half-time, we were playing really well. We got slaughtered in the second half. And against Hawthorn, I actually think the scoreline didn't do us justice in that game. So the point I'm trying to make there is our best and what we're bringing to these games against the best teams has been something that I think we can be proud of, because like I've said in previous videos, last year, we played 5 or 6 outstanding games and the rest of it was quite insipid. And now we're completely the inverse of that. We're not good enough to be 11 goals up against Fremantle at three-quarter time like we were last year. We're not good enough to be torching Melbourne in the way that we did last year, but the floor of our performances has raised so much. So yeah, this was a fun game to watch with no expectation. I watched it in a pub in Richmond, I think it was. And you wouldn't think there were too many Collingwood fans around, because that's how few times Collingwood did something really good, which is not a dig at them, but obviously a lot of that game was frustrating for them. And then every now and then somebody at Collingwood would do something good and prove why they're the best team in the competition, and you'd hear the cheers going around and you're like, oh wow, there are some Collingwood fans here, we've kept them pretty quiet. So yeah, that was actually a strangely fun game to watch. We're in front at quarter time by 11 points. We don't win the second quarter, but we're still in front. And what was pleasing about that as well is we did concede a number of goals in a row, and then I think we kicked the next 4 in a row against the flow. So there's a little bit of resilience there, I suppose. We didn't drop our heads when the best team of the competition hit us with a couple of good 1-2s and a good combination there. We managed to have our own response, and for the most part we did that throughout the entire game up into the last quarter. So if I'm not mistaken, at halftime I think we're in front in clearances, and I think that's probably where the game got away from us in the second half. We got beat up around the ball. So Collingwood are actually the worst team in the competition for contested ball differential over the last 5 weeks. That's not how they win their games. And we are also pretty close. I think we might actually be out of the bottom 4 over the last 5 weeks, but still certainly not a strength of ours. But we did lose the contested ball by 17 in this game. I'm not sure how that trended, how much of that came from the last quarter, because I wasn't tracking that stat quarter by quarter, but the clearances, I'm certain we got slaughtered in the clearances in the second half. But certainly in the centre clearances, we didn't have a response for them. But that's okay, to be honest, for where we're at the moment. We know that the clearances aren't a strength of ours, but, we won them against Carlton somehow. And it feels like with a makeshift and very young midfield, the guys like Hoff, who's brand new to the role, Harley and Elijah, who are quite young, guys like Brockman and Ryan spending a bit of time in there, we found a little bit of a solution there. Maybe not a solution, but we found a way to improve the way we're going in terms of our centre stoppage game. So that's pleasing, considering McQualter hasn't really even had an off season yet with this list. I'm not sure if you really count last year. We'll go through a bit of a stats profile of this game. We actually had 15 more disposals, which I know that's such a lame thing to look at and take anything out of, because it's just disposals. But the reason I mention it is it's a bit of an outlier for us. We don't normally have more of the ball than our opposition, and sometimes we're minus 70 in that stat. So we had plus 15. We were minus 17 contested ball, so that's really where, a part of this game where we got beaten up. Minus 17 is not great, but we were plus 34 uncontested ball. I know those numbers don't really add up, because we had 15 more disposals, lost uncontested ball by 17, plus 34 uncontested. For the record, uncontested and contested ball is around the possession and not the disposal. So if you win a contested ball but don't hand it off, then that counts as a contested possession, but not a disposal. Anyway, ended up only having 5 less inside 50s than our opponents. Obviously, the quality of their inside 50s was great, and as usual, our ability to convert our inside 50s wasn't on today. That we had one individual in particular had a bit of a dirty day in front of goal, but getting that supply, I think I said in the previous video, we're averaging 3 more inside 50s per game than we were last year, and our average would have gone up again. We got the ball inside 50 times, which is, it's an absolute tick for me. We're also a little bit better at locking the ball inside our forward 50. We're plus 3 on them for tackles inside 50, which sometimes we can be up and down with that stat. Let's talk about some individuals. I really do think this was a really strong team performance. But there were certainly some individuals worth mentioning here. I've actually written down quite a few. Brady Hoff, that was definitely his best game as a midfielder. I think I said in a video recently, look, he can win footy as a midfielder, and he's got class and some outside ability and can win the footy, that's fine. But I wanted to see him start winning some clearances to show that stoppage craft, and he actually led us this week with Harley with 6 clearances. Further to that, he won the ball 27 times and had 100% disposal efficiency, and got the ball inside 55 times. So his best game as a midfielder, maybe not of his career, but certainly as a midfielder. And that is such a huge, nice little win for us that we've been able to get Brady, a very talented player, into a role where he can impact even more. Because as a small defender shutting out opposition smalls, that's great and that's valuable, but he's clearly capable of a little bit more. So it's great to see that. I thought Ryan Marrick is a player that I have probably been a little bit concerned about whether he is fitting into that half-back role really nicely. I think he's got the attributes for it. I think by far and away this was his best game that I can recall this year in terms of the way he used the footy. I mean, his disposal efficiency is generally pretty high, but I thought he used it in a quite a compelling way in this game, which is really what I was looking for. So that was a nice step for him. Tom McCarthy, I mean, this bloke could be an All-Australian, not this year obviously, but in the future, like he looks like he could be an All-Australian halfback one day. It's not just the fact that he uses the ball well, but how daring he is with his kick choices, his kick selection, but also his run and carry. He like runs in a straight line and can swerve. There's not too much cheap footy. Like he will get us meters gained. Outstanding selection by West Coast. Absolutely. It is easy when you have pick one, but gee, he has made us a better team already. Liam Baker had 35 disposals. That is the first time someone other than Tom McCarthy has hit 30 disposals. I thought he was once again very good. Probably going to be our best and fairest this year. Jack Hutchinson probably took a step. I liked Hutchinson. I won't repeat myself. I say it a lot. But it was good to see him winning a little bit more footy. I think he had 19 disposals in this game, 8 marks and 4 tackles. I think he definitely did his job. We had Tyler Brockman, not a massive game from a stats point of view, but if you're kicking a couple of goals, getting 10 touches and 3 tackles, you've absolutely ticked the box for what we're looking for from our small forwards. And Harry Edwards again, man, I'm starting to get real confident this guy is going to be a lock in our team for the foreseeable future. It's not to say that he'll be an All-Australian or anything like that, but obviously we have a gaping McGovern and Barras-sized hole in our backline. And I think he's really filled me with confidence over the last month or two that he has got what it takes. So another strong performance from Harry. I thought Kelly put in a performance that we're looking for without being outstanding. He only had the 10 touches, but he kicked a goal and set up a couple of others, and I think led us for score involvements for just 12 or 10 possessions. I can't remember what it was. So if he's being that creative player with limited possessions, I think he at least did his job this week, so good on you, Tim. Clay Hall had 22 touches, which I'd have to say is the most he's had at AFL level. He's often been the sub or just not hit 20 possessions and 3 clearances. I think he'll keep his spot in the side, which is great to see. It is funny, actually, that when Clay Hall's in the team, it kind of correlates with us playing well. I don't know how much there is to read into that. And I'll just spare a thought for Jack Williams. Gee, I love Jack Williams. And to be honest, up to this point, he's been a pretty clutch player, but he had some moments he'd probably like to forget in this game. There were 2 bad set shots. There was that bad turnover towards the end of the game. I wouldn't say that cost us the game. I don't think we really would have won it either way. But, for a close game, it was a relatively close game before it blew out towards the end. If you miss 2 set shots and give another one away, Dan Houston nails it from 55. It probably had an impact on the game. He was getting himself in those positions, but yeah, not a great game from Jack. And how good does Job Shanahan look? I mean, we saw it in flashes, and that's probably all we could have realistically expected. I mean, when I saw him debuting against Collingwood at Marvel, I was a little bit worried we just wouldn't see much of him because he wouldn't get these opportunities. But the way he presented, the way he created space in the forward 50, the strong mark he took on the lead, and then a great set shot, we've got a genuine player here. I've liked him since before I knew he was going to be at West Coast. And he should stay in the team this week. Those are probably all the individuals I want to highlight. Forgive me if I've missed someone. I did notice Elijah Hewitt was listed in the best on the Eagles website. I didn't really notice him too much, but let me know in the comments. I did have a lot of beers in this game, but there's always going to be something I missed, so let me know in the comments if you thought Hewitt was good. I feel like he slipped away in the second half a little bit. So in terms of team changes for next week against the Giants, I'm going to be back in Perth and I'm going to be at this game, which is exciting. I am flying back to Perth for a couple of weeks, and it's a good week to do it. Guys, call me crazy. I'm not writing us off for this game. We beat them a couple of years ago with a very different team, admittedly. And they torched us earlier this year. There are 2 versions of GWS that exist in the AFL right now. There is the prolific, outstanding ball movement side that can tear us up, and we got that version when we played them earlier this year. And there's been a lot of average footy from the Giants. Arguably, they're worse at home than they are away from home at the moment. So I don't know which version we're going to get. If they're able to get their ball movement game going, they're going to be very hard to stop, and it will probably be ugly. But at the same time, I have grown a little bit more confident in this side, provided we don't have a quarter and a half like we did against Carlton, that we can at least make a game of this. So I'm hoping that once again, we are that team where a good side comes up against us and goes, oh, that wasn't as easy as we thought it was going to be. And I'm not writing us off. Hopefully we can just take that momentum in. The style that we play, the high-pressure style with a young group, it makes me a little bit nervous. We're not going to be able to sustain this for the entire season, so we might have a bad day, but the Giants are gettable, I reckon. And I reckon we're going to at least make it close, hopefully. In terms of selection, Tyrell Dewar did hamstring and was not listed on the injury list but didn't play, so I don't know if he's available. I suspect that Jaden Hunt might have been dropped this week had Dewar not come out. We saw Hunt come on as the sub. We saw Jamie Cripps subbed out. And about half the times this year, the player who has been tactical subbed has not been playing in the team the next week. So between Cripps and Hunt, those guys might be in a little bit of strife this week. We do have Matt Owies back available. I would probably keep Cripps in the team. I don't know about you. I'd let Owies come back through the waffle. But perhaps Tyrell Dewar comes back into the side if he's fit. But other than that, I don't know what else we would really do. There's a couple of guys on the waffle that did put their hand up. Rhett Bazzo had a really strong performance by the sounds of it, had 30 disposals. And Tom Gross played well as a midfielder, I presume, because he had like 28 touches. And those are guys that were probably close to the mix for the AFL side anyway. So perhaps we see one of those two come in next week. They've probably earned it. But for Bazzo, it's probably a case of, is Sandy Brock droppable at the moment? I can't really remember how much of a good game he played this week, but he has put in a fairly good block of form. So I'm not really anxious to see him dropped, but Bazzo could conceivably come in. And then Gross could make way for one of Cripps or Hunt. It's possible. So all in all, guys, I am pretty happy with the way that played out. I know it doesn't come across well when we talk about honourable losses, but I think taking all the context into account, that was probably our hardest fixture of the year, and I think we passed that with flying colours, considering how far back we are. Now, hopefully we can sustain it. I'm going to give us a chance against the Giants. I tend to give us the kiss of death, so I'm going to touch wood here. There are games where I thought we were a chance to win this year, and we didn't, or we got slaughtered, and I didn't tip us to beat St Kilda when we did, but I don't think it's the craziest thing anymore. And hopefully, it's possible that over the next couple of years, we're going to embark on a bit of an exciting period for the club. It's hard to say. I don't want to get ahead of myself because we've had, a fairly good run of form. But what I mean is we're not going to be playing finals in probably even 3 years, to be honest with you. But there's an exciting phase when you're coming up as a young team where everyone doesn't rate you, and then you jag a surprise win here or there. I don't know if we're there yet, but over the next few years, it feels like we're on the cusp of becoming a team that is annoying to play against very consistently. We've started to do it now. I don't know if we're good enough to really win games yet, but I think we've turned a corner as a football club at this current point in time. There probably will be some more bad performances before the end of the year, but I think McQualty gets a big tick for turning us into a competitive side when we shouldn't be, after years of not being a competitive side when we should be. So I'm happy to say that we've turned that corner a little bit now. And I'm excited. Can't wait to be there for the clash against the Giants Friday night at Optus Stadium. But for now, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to try and get at least 1 or 2 more videos done on this channel before that game takes place. Got some good ideas in a comment. Also, I'm endeavouring a little bit more to get active on Instagram. So True Eagle AFL on Instagram, True Footy AFL as well for my other channel. And I might start, putting up some thoughts mid-game. I did that at the Collingwood game. But yeah, just if you want to see that. But for now, let me know in the comments what you thought, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Up the Eagles.